Welcome to Uruk's Hollow.
Hello there, my dear watchers. This is your host, the one and only Uruk's Hollow, doing commentary for the first time. So let's begin. Recently, Monolith gave us our first in-depth look at the combat skills in Shadow of War. But before we listen to DePlater, I want to talk a bit about the other skills that you might have missed during their stream. Let's start with Detonate. In Shadow of Mordor, this ability was needed to create explosions, but now it has changed. Now Detonate allows you to shadow strike fire pits and use the hammer to set it off, as we saw during the gameplay trailer. Moving on, these are the upgrades for Detonate. I am not sure what Bursting Arrow could be, but the other two make me think using them will allow us to swarm enemies with spiders and ghouls, respectively. Next ones are the upgrades for throwing daggers. Serrated Edge, I think it could be like more damage perhaps. Swift Barrage is probably like the 3 daggers in quick succession like on the first game. And lastly, Rain of Blades. We will see more about that one later on this video. Moving forward, these are the upgrades for Caragor Rider. Bounce, it's likely what the name suggests, and Bestial Rage, I suspect it has something to do with getting extra health for our Caragor when we maul an enemy. Here we see the upgrades for Drain. These are all under the story skill tree section, but I do not know what all this could mean. The color for Domination really intrigues me though. Once again on the story skills, these are the upgrades for the Glaive. Mighty Swing sounds like a special attack similar to Execution perhaps, that would consume the might we have built up from attacking enemies, while Deadly Striker is possibly an upgrade to get more damage with the same weapon. Lastly, I want to point out that some of these skills and upgrades are colored in yellow or orange. I suspect there's probably going to be a special way of unlocking these abilities rather than it simply being skill points. With that aside, let's hear what DePlater has to tell us about all the abilities that have been revealed so far.
We have all of our different skill options organized here, and we've got them categorized according to the different styles of play. So combat is all of our melee skills, using the sword, the dagger, the glaive. Predator we showed, that's the sort of bucket for all of our different stealth skills and options. Ranged, pretty obvious. Wraith is sort of the bucket where we put a lot of Celebrimbor's skills and abilities. Then we have a whole tree around the mounted abilities, whether that's on the Drakes, the Caragors, etc. And then we have this other bucket at the bottom, which is the skills that unlock during the course of the story we might play. So if we look at the different upgrades available, Grim Resolve is great. If you want to take damage and then give it back to your enemies, you can actually set this so your might grows as you get hit in combat. Secret Might, and this will actually fill when you shoot an enemy without being detected or when you do a stealth kill, and the advantage of that is that lets you prepare to enter combat in stealth and build up your might bar. And that's Fatal Might. So this is for the most skilled players who want to be pulling off those chords and those executions as often as possible. So now every time Ellie successfully hits an enemy, that's going to build up even faster. So Orcs in Mordor.
This city's a great cross. For the war team!
I have a question.
It's a combination. Start with, okay, so this is already built, sorry, I will come back to that. But, so, not only built up to the level 1 of the executions, but if you notice now there's 2 colours on the might bar that's filling up to the orange and then filling with the red. And so you can now do higher level executions as well, so you can do brutalities or stronger executions. So that's another feature we've added as well. Nice. Countering is obviously a really key skill in combat, but now you can upgrade what happens when you counter with a few different choices again. So this one's really handy. So the rain of arrows means that when you counter, you can actually gain ammo. This one feeds might. So every time you counter, especially if you stack this with what Ellie had last time of the perfect might, you can just be doing executions all over the place and just building up that might bar incredibly quickly. Fatal counter, this one means that when you counter, if you time it perfectly, right at the moment of impact, you can actually reverse it and you can kill grunts and other units as well.
We got a request for group.
Oh, there we go.
Perfect.
So once you get that, once you get the timing great, and then that also works with the multi-counters as well. So later when you get big battles, you can do the double counter and have, just out of one set of counters, have Celebrimbor taking someone out and Talion. So you can just like decimate groups of enemies. So critical strikes, these are not the executions, so these are on your main X attacks. Actually, they can also be on some other attacks as well. But by timing the hits and not mashing the buttons, so basically one hit per enemy, you have a chance to do more damage or to put them into different states, so knock them down, stun them. The reprisals, sort of similar to what we were seeing on the might before, where as you're taking damage to enemies, you're becoming more powerful as well, and of course those things can stack. So as your health's going down, your chance to actually damage and take down enemies goes up. So this is another one that's really optimized for skillful players and big groups and epic battles. So if you keep your hit streak up above 30, you're just going to be decimating and carving through enemies and even potentially one-shotting them. So this one again is the most skilled version, where if you can sustain the timing and get the precise timing, you're really going to be able to start one-shotting those grunts and doing more damage on every shot. Fury, this is really fun. This is the kind of actually it's an Easter egg to the Hyperion. I think it was Hyperion Rush in God of War 2, mate. It might have been one of the PSP ones, but it's just so awesome.
Just such a good move.
Yeah, and lets you build your hit streak up as you're taking these guys down.
Builds up your might as well.
Yep. The Wraith Shield, this is really handy because now while you're doing the ground takedown, you can still counter.
Right.
So, which means you can actually, if you're using that, it's particularly effective against captains, nemesis enemies, especially if they're resistant to execution.
Oh yeah.
So that really cuts off a lot of your options in combat. But now if you can knock them down, you can do a lot of damage with the ground takedown and still counter. This is the Drain. So now after you've knocked them down in combat, you can use the Wraith abilities to either drain them, which means you're going to recover resources, health, whatever. But once you've upgraded and you've got the ring and you can brand them, this is a really great way to quickly dominate enemies and actually turn them to be on your side.
At E3, we'll have a playable demo that's there.
Yep. And presumably other, shows after that. So there'll be definitely, hopefully, chances for people to get their hands on it.
That dash is cool because you can dash through people sometimes too.
He's just covering his eyes. I couldn't believe he was.
There it is.
Good on you, Celebrimbor.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Or use them too.
There we go. There's ground drain. Cool. So we now have the brutal aggression. So
so we already had all of the base skills unlocked. So Ellie already had the level 2 of the might, and so brutal attacks, what they do is they actually spread fear as well. So as well as doing more damage, if you're going to use it against a captain, if you're using it against a grunt, it can now actually terrify and kind of clear out guys.
So we got one.
One more. So this is so rather than chaining them together, now when you do your executions, they don't fully drain the buff. So now you can do more normal executions as well. So you can have an additional last chance, which obviously makes the game significantly easier. Unless you meet some bastard orc who gives you no chance and just kills you anyway. Draining the attacker.
Oh, that's cool.
So so this means you're actually not only going to survive, but you're going to come back with another ally on your side. And then full might on the last chance as well. The advantage of that one is you're now back into the fight, but you're back into the fight and ready to do an execution or other AoE and otherwise take vengeance on the guy who just knocked you down.
Oh, fantastic.
That's it for DePlater's commentary on all the combat abilities for Shadow of War, but on a more funny note, check out this guy over here. He decided to get rid of his pants in the middle of the stream. I bet a lot of you were dreaming about being demolished by Aslar himself while watching this. In other news, Shadow of War was unfortunately delayed and will now release on October 10th this year. Let's hope this is for the better. Don't forget E3 2017 starts in just a week. We know for a fact that Shadow of War will be present and there will be a playable demo. I won't be able to be there this year, but I will cover all the news and bring them to you anyway, so remember to stay tuned for that. And before we wrap this video, I want to tell you that Uruk Solo is currently undergoing a transition. I will dedicate more time to bring you the news about Shadow of War from now on, while the usual Shadow of Mordor content will not be as frequent anymore. So that's it for this time. Thank you so much for watching, and remember to stay tuned for much more.